Hey guys, my name is Adelaida Sandoval. Welcome to my video where I talk about social interaction and my native culture with the deaf culture as well. I want to start off by saying that I come from a Mexican culture. I also come from a family of 5. Here I have an image of my family. Here are all of us. And then I am Catholic. I come from a very religious background. Mexicans are, typical for that. And I want to say I come from a big family. This is generations to come. So I do have a big family, and I want to start off by saying that the Mexican culture and the deaf culture really have similar ways of how they interact with the rest of the world, but predominantly we do have differences. For example, the deaf culture is definitely more quiet, and they do have rules of how they interact with each other. For example, their goodbyes are different, their hellos are different. The way they catch somebody's attention is very different from what I grew up with, from how I grew up and how I was taught to say hi or bye to someone. For example, deaf people have to tap on the shoulder or tap the leg or just wave at them to get their attention. In my culture, we just yell at the person, just go hey you, or we call on them because we have our voices. We are not deaf, so we are not familiar with sign language or the way they communicate with each other. So Mexicans are used to being so loud and expressive with each other and just hugging, so much touching and contact, where the deaf people are a lot more careful with how they interact with the person because they can come off as too forward with the person. So, and another example would be Mexicans definitely do not struggle as much as deaf people when it comes to interactions. Mexicans are more they're open with everybody, strangers, family members, everything. With deaf people, they really have to be careful with who they interact with. So they're more comfortable with interacting with people who are deaf, just like them, or their family members, or other people who are a part of the deaf community. They're more comfortable that way. Mexicans are comfortable with anybody who's Mexican or anybody that can speak Spanish and or English. And another difference is that I want to say is that deaf people do have name signs. That is very different from the Mexican culture. Mexican culture is more like nicknames in Spanish and or English, but definitely that is also a big difference. So a way that it impacted me is that, well, as I was becoming familiar with the people who share my culture and who knew how to interact with me through Spanish language and English, I became very comfortable with those kind of people, and I knew I had people to fall back to if I ever felt lost in the Mexican culture. I had so much family and people around me who were a part of my culture, so it was easy to interact with them. The deaf people, I was definitely not exposed to the deaf people as much growing up, and I didn't have anybody from the aspect. While I was growing up, I didn't even know there were deaf people. I didn't know anything about sign language or not hearing or anything. So I was just very lost in that aspect. I didn't have anybody to fall back to there. So what I want to add is that I believe that my childhood, here's a picture of me as a child. My childhood definitely had an influence of how I react to their way of communicating, because I would have been very confused and lost as a child if I saw people signing to each other, or it just blew my mind knowing that people couldn't speak or use their voice to communicate with each other. So knowing as a child, since I wasn't exposed to their way of communicating with each other, it left me kind of an outsider in their world, and vice versa. They were an outsider to me because I didn't know how to communicate with them. They didn't know how to communicate with me. So now as I am growing up, now as an adult that I am learning more. I am currently learning ASL, and I'm just learning how to communicate with them in that aspect. And I hope to have the same respect for them as they do for hearing people as well. But that is all for my video, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.